Hello and welcome back to the note-taking series in which I, a medical student, will be showing you guys how you can take amazing notes on Samsung Notes using your Tab S7 Plus. Now, if you want information about my setup, why I use the Tab S7 Plus, why I use Samsung Notes, or about my organization of notes, then please do go and check out part number 1. This is part number 2 and you'll be curious to know what you will be learning in this part. So let me give you a brief outline of today's video. Now, I'm going to be showing you guys how you can transform your lecture PowerPoints, lecture PDFs, lecture transcripts into brilliant notes that are easy to follow, easy to revise from, and look good. So remember, this is part 2. There will be a part 3 coming probably next week. So please do stay tuned and yeah, let's get on to it. Now, just before I begin to show you how I take notes, I just want to mention quickly that Samsung Notes has just put out a new update and I've only just installed it as well, but basically it's great because you can now set the color of each folder, you can change the order, you can crop attached photos freely, you can erase all handwriting now at the same time, you can duplicate any note, you can delete a note while you're writing on it, and there are some more templates that have been added as well. So that's kind of one of the other reasons I use Samsung Notes, because they're always trying to improve their app. Alright, so I also want to show you guys my settings. So as you can see, I sync with Samsung Cloud, which is basically the means for which you can have your synced notes across your different devices. So my PC, my phone and my tablet all have Samsung Notes synced on them, so it's easy for me to edit and change anything that I want to. Now, another feature that I've not used actually is to sync with Microsoft OneNote. It looks like a very promising and helpful feature, and it's something I definitely want to try out in the future. Now, look at some of my other settings, my page style and templates. You can see I use infinite scrolling rather than individual, and that's just because I tend to run over pages and then it doesn't look that good. In terms of my template, I use just a straight lined wide template. It helps me to keep everything straight, and then my page color is black. And I think I've said this before, but black paper just helps me to see things a lot more clearly. And looking at my other settings as well, you can see I've not really changed anything around, but yeah, if you guys were interested. I also just want to show you guys the main tools that I use to take my notes. Now, the main pen I use is just that pen in the middle. I guess you could call it a felt tip, and the thickness is 19. I feel like it's not too wide, not too thin, and easy to read at a distance. And you can see here my color palettes as well that I've chosen to go with, if any of you guys are interested. And you can see that, you know, the pen works fine, and that is the pen that I mostly use. I generally don't use highlighters actually. I feel they don't show up as well on black paper, but yeah, I mean, if I do, I just kind of use a regular pink highlighter. In terms of erasers, I use an area eraser rather than stroke eraser, because when I'm handwriting, sometimes the stroke eraser isn't as useful. I use the selection tool a lot, as you will see later on in the video. It helps me to move everything around to how I want it. And this is another tool, I don't really know what you would call it, but it's called change style, and that really helps me to color code everything afterwards. So rather than having different pens and keep changing the colors of the pens, I just go over things afterwards in the color that I want. And I'll demonstrate this later on as well. Another tool that I use is the shape tool, and this is the tool that helps me to get straight lines on a lot of my headings and subheadings. And also if I'm making mind maps, then a circle shape also comes in very good handy as well. Now, other than that, I don't really use any of the other tools that much, to be honest. This kind of tool, I don't even know what it's called, but I don't use it at all. Guess it's more useful for typing text. And I mean, yeah, that's the tools that I use. Alright, so I thought that the best way to show you everything in practice is to actually show you a real note I took in med school. And as you can see here, I've added a note called medical implants, and by the way, you will see that I'm a big perfectionist when it comes to these things, so try not to get annoyed with my level of rubbing things out and moving them around. But anyway, as you can see here, I've written my title. I'm going to be highlighting it in the green color, I guess, and I've done that with all my notes for some reason, and you can see that the shape tool obviously comes in handy as well. Now on the other side, I've also got my lecture PowerPoint open, and this helps me to copy paste or screen grab images that I want to import into my notes, and in this case I've just decided to copy and paste images. So here I've put this image in, and again you can see that I love to move things around, but yes, the image is there now, and the reason why sometimes there might be a delay in what I'm saying and what I'm doing is because I'm watching the lecture side by side, so that's why sometimes I can be a bit slow taking my notes, which is absolutely fine, I think. As you can see here, I like to put my own twist on things, and here I'm writing a subheading called hip replacement, and again I'm going to be using the shape tool to underline and also to color as well. The change style tool comes in a big use as well for me. So here I've got like a heading and like a subheading, I guess, and you will see that I will underline it using the shape tool and also color in the underline or the actual heading itself, depending on what kind of heading it is. And as you can see here that I had to put my change style to 19 as well, so that's something just to note for when you guys are taking your notes. Now going back to my PowerPoint, and you'll see I use this a lot. I take a copy and paste of image of the hip bone, but you will very soon see that it doesn't look that nice because it's got like a white background, and I'm not a big fan of white backgrounds on black paper especially. So I'm going to show you guys exactly what I do to conquer this issue. So the first step in order to get rid of the background is to take a screen grab rather than a copy and paste, because you need to have the image saved in your gallery. Then I use an app called Auto Background Eraser. I'll try and link it down in the description, and this video is not sponsored by them at all, but it's a helpful tool that I like to use. So I basically select the image, I crop out how much of it I want to use, and then it's just really easy just to go and take out all the white bits, and that will get rid of the background for you. And you can also erase as well if you want to smoothen out anything, or just in general if there's any writing or labels you want to get rid of, you can erase that as well. And once you've done that, I'm just going to increase the smoothness. I'm going to save it in max resolution, and once I've saved it, all I have to do, go back into my notes, into Samsung Notes, and import an image from my gallery, and you can see how much better that looks. And you'll see when I label it up as well, it looks very original, very unique, very aesthetic, and it will be easier to revise from because I have put on the labels myself. So hopefully some of that has gone into my brain as well. Alright, so I actually want to show you guys a really good example of color coding. So in this note, we're looking at options for repair, and you can see that I'm using all the same tools that I normally use for my other notes as well. And you can see that I really like to make flowcharts and diagrams using pictures and labels and words and arrows. It just helps me to think of things straight in my brain, if that makes sense. So here we're looking at 3 categories of repair. We're looking at autografts, allografts, and synthetic replacements. Now, as you will probably notice a lot, I like to move things around a lot. Until I'm not completely happy with it, I will keep moving it around, and I guess that's a really good thing about digital notes. You can literally make it however you want, and that's something on paper that I wasn't always able to do. You know, if something is slightly not in the middle, I'll be like, well, I'll just leave it. Probably not time efficient if I'm being honest, but if you're gonna make good notes, you want to make it clear and readable and nice, then that is exactly what I do. So I'm gonna let you guys just watch this piece of note now. I'll just stop talking, and you'll see that I do put in diagrams from the lectures, I draw my own, I put in more labels and so on, but you'll see that at the end I actually have a really nice flow chart that I can follow and read really well, and it actually comes in handy for revision as well. Alright, so I want to talk about how you can import PDF. So as you can see here, I've downloaded a PDF and now I'm going to open it with Samsung Notes. And this way I can now edit the title and change it to however I want. And then once it's in Samsung Notes, I can move it to the folder that I want to. And just like that, it's so easy just to add PDFs into your notes, into different folders, wherever you want. And it's completely handwritable. You can also type on it as well, and yeah, I mean, it's a great feature and it's a whole PDF editor at the same time as well. Now, talking about importing lecture slides, if it's in the form PowerPoint, Microsoft, then the process is a little bit more complicated in that you have to convert the PowerPoint into a PDF. So in this example, you can see I have a PowerPoint, but if you go into export and then you change it and export it to a PDF, then in that case, you can add it into Samsung Notes. However, this can only be done on PC. I've not been able to do it on my tablet. I'm not sure what the reason for that is. Maybe there is a way around that, but basically because I've got everything synced up, I just for PowerPoint slides that I just want to put directly into my notes and I don't want to handwrite everything, I will just do it on my computer. Then I will go into Samsung Notes and put it in, and then it will be there in my tablet and on my phone as well. So it's slightly complicated, I guess, but not to the point where it's like impossible. So that is going to be the end of today's part 2 video, and if there's something that you didn't like or that you did like, please do give me feedback in the comments below. DM me on the Instagram if you want to follow me on there, or email me. I'll leave it all in the description. And of course, if you have any questions, I'm always happy to help. But that's going to be the end of today's video, guys, and I will see you next week with part 3, the final part of the note-taking series. And yeah, stay tuned until then. Goodbye.